All right. So, hello once again, lovers. It is another episode of Flourish and Love, the podcast. And I am your host, Coach Londi. So, welcome back to our regular listeners and a warm welcome to those joining us for the very first time. We are happy to have you joining us. And today on this lovely platform where we talk all things on how you can flourish in love, remaining authentic and true to yourself, where we're having these deep, thought provoking conversations, having them in a comfortable manner, in a loving manner, in a space that allows you to stop, to reflect, and to get yourself a bit of inspiration so that you can be able to move yourself forward in your hashtag relationship goals. So, today, what we're doing is slightly different because you know how I love having you contribute onto this platform via your questions, via your feedback. So I have today somebody who has been valuable. I would say she's probably the biggest contributor in this podcast. Feedback, questions, you name it. And she came up with this brilliant idea, which I thought, yes, this is exactly what I want because I'm always going on and on about how I want us to be having a conversation. She said, yeah, let's have a conversation. So today we are having a conversation. And so you are also open if you want to be one of our contributors, come on, be on the conversation with me, with us. You know, we are opening all sorts of doors to make sure that we have this platform be as valuable and as impactful and as welcoming and comfortable as we possibly can have it. So today's topic is going to be with an honored guest, an honorable guest, a valuable guest, and we're going to be engaging in conversation today. And she is none other than Coach Nunu. Drum roll, please. Welcome.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So good to be here with all of the lovers. Thank you for having me.
I thank you for your continued contribution and your brilliant idea to join me in having a conversation. Listen, you've just gone and taken this whole thing to a whole new level. So
Yeah.
thank you. And today we're talking something in the lines of, you know how, and it is inspired, a bit of background on how we got here. It's inspired by something that you said,
Yes.
she sent me a link to her Facebook profile where she had asked a question, posed a question on her profile to 35 plus year olds. And she asked, how is it going in your intimate relationship in Mjolo to the 35 plus? And she sent me a link to go read the comments and then sent an instruction, please do something for the 35 plus year olds. And amongst the comments were things like, it's critical in the love department for the 35 plus year old guy.
Yes.
Some were like, it's a temp job where every 3 weeks you find yourself in a different office serving somebody else and you're not even sure as to what are your roles in this new temp position. So it was just very bleak and disastrous in the 35 plus category as far as relationships were concerned. And I'm going to pose you the same question I answered you with that day, that what is it that these 35 plus year old people are looking for in relationship, or the one thing that they want in life that they believe and think that being in a relationship, a lasting long-term relationship, is going to give or to fulfill them with? Because the problem is, it's hard to stay in a relationship for the 35 plus people. So they get on in relationship fast, easy, and then they get off the wagon again. So what is it that they are struggling to find? What do you 35 plus year old people want?
So I think first off, 35 plus year olds are struggling to stay in relationships because they are going through what I call the second adolescent stage of their lives. It is a very tumultuous stage, especially when you get to your mid-30s, heading all the way to your 40s. Everything you've ever known, everything that you thought, okay, this is the formula to how we do life, is suddenly going belly up. And you're just finding yourself so confused and just wondering, but I thought I had it figured out. And not only are things changing around you, but you're also finding that you are changing. The things that used to make you happy no longer do. You've been there, you've done that, you've accomplished things, you've ticked off a few boxes in your life, but you're just at a stage where your life is just feeling a bit meh, right? And you just, it's like everything, you can't grasp anything. Everything just seems to be slipping out of your fingers no matter how much you try. And so when 35-plus-year-olds get into relationships, ideally what they are looking for, they are just looking for that one thing that can be a constant in their life, that safe haven from all of the storms that life is now throwing at them. This is why you hear, so it goes hand in hand with people complaining about adulting, because wow, you know,
we were never ready.
You know, we were never ready. And the thing that makes it extra difficult is that we can't even look to our parents for any guidance because they've never done life on our terms. They've never lived in a time such as ours. So they absolutely have no idea what's going on with us. They look at us and they're thinking, you guys have it so much easy. Everything is so much easy. And yet they have no idea the kind of struggles that we are faced with on a daily basis. So you can only imagine that if it's hitting all of us, men, women over the age of 35, we're just looking for that safe haven, which is a relationship where we can be with people who understand what we are going through. But man, even they, ziyakala. Ziyakala. Ziyakala.
Volume all the way there.
Yes, you know, because now we also don't know who we are and what you're doing from day to day. And you're looking to me for what? Stability? Girl, I want stability myself. So I guess this is why it's very, very critical there by the dating scene for the 35-plus-year-olds, you know?
Oh my. As I pull myself towards myself.
Yes.
Okay, so it sounds like in what I'm hearing, the difficulty is which makes it hard to stay is in the fact that we are looking for the stability in the midst of our own personal transformation. So I'm going through my own transformations, looking for somebody who's going to be an anchor for me. And I'm getting together with another person that is going through their own series of personal transformations. And and that person is also looking for an anchor in this relationship. And anchoring us so that we can both what?
So we can get a sense of groundedness. We're in the month of August now. It's known to be a windy and dusty month. Everything is just flying around. So the one thing people look for when stuff is just flying around is to just be anchored somewhere, is to be grounded somewhere where you know that, you know, you look at trees. So I like to make this example of trees, that, you know, trees could be blown away by all types of winds, and yet if their roots are firm in the ground. And I think that's what we are all looking for. But like I said earlier, this is like a second adolescent stage that you're going through. You know, it's very difficult for us to have that sense of groundedness, to have that sense of anchoring and stability, because I think we are in a season, when we get to that age, we are in that season where we have to do a lot of unlearning. So hence it's very difficult. You can't be anchored in things that no longer work. things that used to work previously, things that used to work in your 20s, getting all the way into your early 30s, where you thought you've got the formula, you've got it figured out, but you are now actually finding out that not anymore. So you cannot be anchored in that, because that also has to go through a process of being blown away out of your life, so there can be room for new, so that you can be renewed yourself. So yeah, I guess that's where that sense comes from. And that's why it's so difficult to get it, because we're all just, we meet each other halfway through the sky, being blown away in different
You're thinking about, if I hold on here, maybe the wind won't be as harsh, you know? And then as you're holding on, a tornado and whatever is there, and then you being swept away, like, no, that's not where I was going. I was actually on my way over there. Okay, I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe let's shed a bit of light on in the context of now me speaking to the circumstances as a relationship expert and a self-mastery coach. So this whole situation has a term for it. It has a name. Where the circumstance, or where you have the tendency of finding yourself being able to fall in love very quickly, very easily, and very often. We call it emotional promiscuity. Now, before you all thinking, I know, I'm the type that is, I am not promiscuous. Listen here, me, just bear with me, it'll be clear. Since you are already in the unlearning phase, maybe you will get to unlearn a few things about promiscuity as well. So emotional promiscuity is where we are in this stage of not being able to use, or we are in a stage of wanting to escape our emotions instead of being able to use our emotions to guide us. Now, it's a common thing. I know that a trend in my life that did end in my mid-30s was the trend of escaping reality. My environment that I grew up in and my life experiences, even before I started making my own choices, were all around and were all motivated and inspired by trying to escape my reality. And because I take myself everywhere, even in how I dealt with my emotions when they came up, my first instinct has always been try to escape an uncomfortable or negative emotion and quickly run into a more positive emotion. So that's what I mean when I say emotional promiscuity. It's you having this urge and this need for you to escape emotions. So you don't sit with it, especially if it is an emotion that we judge as a negative emotion, we are unable to sit with it. So immediately in relationship, when it gets uncomfortable, or when it appears like this is not what I signed up for, we can't bring ourselves to sit in it long enough to be able to unpack it, because we are already in this state and we have this thing of you need to move on to the closest next positive emotion. So that's why I'm saying it's emotional promiscuity. And we are looking for the sense of security and grounding that is more emotional than it is in any other context of the word security and grounding. Because you are already slaying in your career. You are grounded financially. Financially, you can stand on your own 2 feet, you know. So you don't want security in that sense, but you want this emotional security. However, staying in undesirable or uncomfortable emotional states becomes a problem. So that's the first shift. The first shift is, how do we learn to be comfortable and then be able to read accurately the emotions? Because a lot of people also struggle to read their emotions accurately. You know, how do we first accurately read the emotion so that we can get the information? Because emotions are that they provide us with information. I was making an example the other day saying, if you and I are both driving on the N3, and let's say the N4, so we're both driving on the N4, and where now you are on your way to Nelspruit, and I am on my way to KZN.
Yes.
The N4 will take us both to Nelspruit and KZN. But how do we know ukuthi I'm well on my way and you well on your way? On the N4, we're going to find road signs. Yes. A road sign that says Henrina, for me, indicates that I must turn and off ramp so that I can get onto the road to KZN. That's how I exit the N4, make my way to KZN. The same road sign reading Henrina, for you, it indicates that you're moving in the right direction if you continue straight along this path. So emotions act in that same way. The road sign is the same. However, the interpretation is different because of where you and I are going. Mina, if I miss that Henrina off ramp, I'm lost. Yeah. But should you take that Henrina off ramp, you are lost. Yeah. So it's not the emotion itself that's the problem. It's what the emotion means to me. That emotion now being that sign, because to me, that sign, that Henrina sign says you are lost if you miss the off ramp. To you, it says you are well on your way, continue straight. So it's the same thing with our emotions. So these discomforts that we get into, and the realizing and the disillusionment and the dealing with, oh, I thought you were this, now you that, or you are more stable than I am, or whatever it is that we're looking for, that we put into the category of grounding and stability and safe haven. So it boils down to you clearly unpacking, what is this safe haven thing? What does it mean? What is it made of? And once you've unpacked exactly what it is that you want, you'll be able to see what the road signs are doing. Because here's how I know. When I see the Henrina sign, how do I know that I'm lost? Is how I feel. If I feel bad, I know I'm moving in the wrong direction. When I feel good, I know I'm moving in the right direction. So it's the same thing with our relationship. Immediately when it feels bad, and it's not a problem if I've missed the off ramp, because then what does it require me to do? The GPS lady says it very nicely. Reroute it.
Make a U-turn.
Yes, gal. So it's that context, really. So where does that put you? What would that do to the 35 plus who's saying, I know, me, I'm tired of this temping thing, and my needs for security not being met while I'm going through my own personal transformation and dealing with all these transformations, and the fact that my parents can't even support me accurately because we just don't relate on that level.
Yeah. So I think first off, based on the analogy that you just made of being on the N4, being headed somewhere, I think first and foremost, right, the key question for me that I would ask a 35 plus year old is, are you still fine being on the N4? Number one. Because you will find that she or he got on the N4 because somewhere a few years back she had that the road to happiness, in order to get to happiness, you have to find yourself on the N4. And meanwhile, as you are going through life in your mid-30s, you're finding that actually the N4 doesn't seem like it's leading me to my road to happiness. So maybe she should be on the N1. or on the N3? Who knows? Firstly, that's the first question. Because what happens is that you get two scenarios. So you get two people. So you get the one person who is on the N4. They've never sat down and questioned whether this is their road to happiness, firstly, right? Somebody or a couple of people that he or she looked up to growing up seemed like in order to get to their happiness, the road that takes them there is via the N4, right? And they got onto it because, hey, why not? You know, if people have walked this journey before, have traveled this journey before, then clearly, you know, 1+1 is 2, right? But now you're finding that, I don't know, man, this N4 thing just doesn't, it's not the one for me. Second scenario is, yes, I got on the N4 because a couple of people that I looked up to looked like this route was working for them. And you know what? It's not bad. It's actually not bad. I'm okay here. But maybe I don't want to take the Hendrina of 10. You see? So it starts there. It starts with having that conversation with yourself, to question yourself about where you are. Stop. Firstly, that's the thing that I would advise. Just stop and look at where you are. Where are you? And what is happening? What are you seeing around you? Do you like what you're seeing? Do you like where the road signs are pointing you? Just do a little bit of a stock take in the scenery, breathe. Because I think that's another thing that happens, is that when you get to that point, you find that you've just been racing through life. You've been racing through life, trying to tick all of the boxes that will make your life look perfect on the outside to people looking in from, looking in from the outside. And we never just give ourselves a chance to stop and ask ourselves, is this what I want to be doing? Is this where I want to be finding myself? Because that will also inform you of the type of people that are driving on the same road with you, which is why you would find that you wouldn't be winning when it comes to love, because your fellow drivers on the other lanes, that's why you keep probably having problems, because they're headed somewhere. It looks like you're all headed to the same place, but then you find out along the way that no, actually this dude is going all the way to Mozambique. Hella, the N4 can still take you there. So, and that's why you find people going, but I thought we were on the same page. And to say, we met on the way. You didn't ask what my ultimate destination was, but you just continued following me until you realized that I think this has gone too fast. So I think, firstly, my first thing that I would say to anybody who's finding themselves in that position is to just park on the side of the road, please. Just park. Breathe. Take in the scenery.
To park on the side of the road. We were told never, especially on the freeway. Yeah, girl. When who taught you how to drive? Driving school said, don't park on the side of the freeway. Don't.
No, guys. That is what that emergency lane is for, guys.
That's part of the unlearning piece, I totally get you.
Yeah, that's what that emergency lane is for. Everybody looks like they're not gonna stop until they have to stop. They are forced to stop, and then you will have to pull over and attend to whatever is disturbing your traveling now. Because if you don't, it's gonna give you bigger problems in the next 50 kilometers. So that's what needs to happen. It's the slowing down. Firstly, people that are in that category need to learn that it is okay to slow down or even stop. Take your time and ask yourself, where am I? What is going on? Where am I going? Who's with me? Just ask those critical questions before you make any further decisions. And I think it will help in quelling the anxiety that they feel, because there's a lot of anxiety that they experience. Because remember, they got used to that ticking boxes lifestyle of, by the age of, I need to have done 1, 2, 3, I need to have done this, I need to have achieved this. Stop. Just stop and take your time, because ultimately you want to tick the boxes that matter to you and that make you happy. Yeah.
Awesome. No, I totally get you. So first things first, are you on your path? Are you on
Yes,
your path?
most definitely.
That's the first thing. Before you can
Yes.
even decide on, and this also will lead to knowing what vehicle as well and what mode of transport you're going to use. If we are
Absolutely.
using the that analogy of, so right now what we are basically asking everybody to do, imagine your love life as a trip. Imagine your love life as a journey. Where are you going? Number one. And once you've determined where you're going, so we've determined that we are going to this safe haven, we are going to this true love, we are going to this deep intimacy, we are going to this authentic connection place. And this is not just a destination that we're going to reach one day. We want this to be our experience on the journey. So when I'm saying think of your love life as a journey, so it's a journey where you're going to experience the true love. It's a journey where you're going to experience and express and receive and give the deep intimacy, the authentic connection. So on the journey, it is a journey of true love, deep intimacy, authentic connection. So that's the journey that you want. Now, the destination, if we are to attach a destination for the purpose of you being able to choose how you travel and where you travel. Because if you are finding yourself on the N4 and you're supposed to be flying above the N4 on an aeroplane instead of driving on the damn thing, now that's going to determine that for you. So when we're talking destination, we're talking thing in a relationship context, we're talking things like there are people who want to get married.
Yes.
And there are people who are happy being life partners. There are
Yes.
people who want to have open relationships. There are people who want polygamous relationships. What type of
Very true.
relationship do you want? Now we're talking about the status. So when we're saying the journey, we're talking about the state of your relationship. That true love thing, that deep intimacy, that authentic connection, that's the state of the relationship. Now, your status of the relationship is what's also going to help you now determine if I want my relationship status to be life partner, if I want my relationship status to be married, if I want my relationship status to be polygamy, whatever it is, the status and the titles that you want in your relationship, that's going to help you determine your route, your path.
Yes.
Am I going to fly? Am I going to sail? Am I going to drive? Am I going to, what am I going to do? Am I going to walk? Am I going to cycle? What am I going to do? Because each relationship status is traveled on a different path and a different road, and it requires different things. So I'm going to give you an example with myself. For instance, I was with my partner for 7 years before he went to my family to say, I'm asking for her hand in marriage. In that 7 years before he went to my family, no, I'm lying. Let's count properly. Yeah, yes. I was with him for 5 years before he went to ask for my hand in marriage. In that 5 years, when we moved in together, after we had our son, we had our son 2 years after 2 years of being together, one of which was a long distance relationship. But the status of the relationship, we decided upon that on our first night together. Like the man was like, "Oh, I'm gonna marry you in 2 years." I'm like, "Oh, okay, that was very good for you, eh?" So the relationship status was together forever, and that's always a thing for us. Whatever the label was, but the status was together forever, happily ever after is what we wanted. So that is what the path that we were on, the path of together forever. And because what our path was together forever, it allowed us to not put ourselves under pressure and constraints of we should be this by then. We figured forever is a very long time.
Yeah.
And I want to know that you want to be with me every day of forever for the rest of my life.
Yes.
So for me, it mattered more that he made a conscious choice every single day that I still want to be with you. So part of the reasons why I didn't want us, or I was uncomfortable with being Mrs. So-and-so, being a Mrs. Magwaza, was I did not want him to feel obligated to staying with me. And that was part of my own insecurities and part of my own healing stuff that I had to deal with. But I was very clear that I want you to choose me. I want to be sure that you are choosing to be with me. So that allowed us to not listen to the noise when we moved in together and people started calling us names, all of these stuff. It didn't bother us because I was more concerned about having him choose me more than I was concerned about what my friends are saying about our living together out of wedlock and our having children as if we are married when we are not married. You know, that didn't bother us because we went through all these things that people had opinions, people had judgments about. When you can imagine when we had a second baby, still no wedding had happened. Haibo, we're living like a married couple, we're buying cars, we're buying flats, we're buying all these things, but we are just failing to get married. But because we were clear about our path and we knew that we are traveling on this path and we were happy with driving on the N4, we were not wishing we were flying over the N4. So it's this clarity piece that you're talking about. And once you get to that clarity piece of, is this my path? Then you'll be comfortable with whatever mode of transportation. And whenever the day comes when you're like, no, I'm done road tripping now. Can I find the nearest airport and take a flight to Mozambique for the rest of my journey? You'll be fine and comfortable with that too. Because we've done that. We've said, okay, now it's time to get off this Mjolo forever thing and let's make things official. We have children now, we have paperwork to do, we are in business together. Now let's be responsible adults and officialize things. We were comfortable to do that when the time came. Why? Because we knew the path. So the first thing in knowing if this is my path, so when you do that park on the side of the road thing, and you're asking yourself, is this my path? Those are the type of questions and the type of things that you need to be thinking about. What experiences do I want to have in this relationship? How do I want to feel about myself in this relationship? How do I want to feel about my partner in this relationship? How do I want to feel about the unit? How do I want to feel about us as a unit, as a together, as a union thing? Because when we were having the people talking, if we were not comfortable in that, because there's been times where we're like, hey, maybe let's just as simple as going to it's as simple as going to Home Affairs, paying 20 Rand and having a marriage certificate, and everybody our case. You know, we've had those moments, but we're able to pull ourselves back and ground ourselves in our own vision of, no, I want to know that you are here because you want to be here, not because a piece of paper says wake up next to me tomorrow morning. And that's something that made us appreciate our union. And it made it grounded us, because in as much as you're looking for grounding for yourself, you need certain things that are going to ground the relationship, the union. So that us having our relationship be that place where I get to choose you, you get to choose me, that grounded, that anchored the relationship. So
very true.
That's the park on the side of the road conversation with yourself, with the person you are in the car with. That's the conversation to be having on the side of the road. So by now we've all established it's safe to park on the side of the road. So please do yourself a favor and go park on the side of the road. Then that's the conversation you're having. So that
I encourage it. Highly, highly encouraged and recommended. Because, you know, as you say, you know, I think part of the reason why, what do they say on the social media streets? Mjolo is a pandemic.
Boy, did I
Mjolo
struggle to understand that.
Mjolo is a pandemic. Love is a scam. All of those things. Because firstly, we need to understand that, you know, we take ourselves wherever we go. So if you are not faithful to who you are, your authentic self, and you are not being truthful to the things that you know, make up this authenticity and the things that contribute to the thing, you know, to what makes you happy, what makes us think that Mjolo will solve that for us? You see, so before we can look to other people to bring us the stability, we need to have the tools to be able to stabilize ourselves first and foremost. And it starts there with that parking on the side of the road, because there is no way that you will get to know and understand the things that make you tick if you are forever on the run, you are forever on the go. Nothing. I mean, we even have rituals, you know, that are accepted in society where we take leave when we work. We go on holiday to recharge. That is where we get to be in touch with ourselves, just to have that check-in to say, am I still okay? You know, do the things that used to make me happy, do they still apply? So that needs to apply to us first before we can look to those, you know, to other people to provide those things for us. And secondly, when we now get into a union with somebody, yes, life may be showing us flames. We may be going through, you know, all of the storms that, you know, this age provides. And look, there's no running away from it. If you dodge it now, it's going to catch up with you later in your 40s, and you're going to be having something called a midlife crisis. And that's not pretty. I think it's best to allow life to process you.
I allow a
Yes.
quarter life crisis, then a midlife.
Yes, please allow life. You know, the earlier and faster life processes you, the better getting older will be, I'd like to believe, you know. So, and by the time you meet somebody, you are able to see early on if this route is still the one for you or not. The reason why people are saying, you know, Mjolo is a pandemic and love is a scam, it's because they are looking to other people to keep assuring them that you are on the right track, njani, when they are also still figuring it out. You need to know it for yourself. While you may not have it all figured out, but you will know, just like you were saying, you know, there's times when you're traveling, right? There will be no road signs for like the next 100 kilometers.
After that Henrina off ramp.
Yes, yes. There will be no road signs, like Dololo road signs, and the GPS. You will keep on switching on and off your phone, your GPS. You will think that, I think we've lost network or something. But you know inside if you are still on the right track or not. You do. You know, when you're traveling, you do know if, okay, fine, you know what, the signal may be off, there are no road signs, but I'm still on the way. So I travel the Eastern Cape quite a lot. So when you exit Bloemfontein, and between that Bloemfontein leading you all the way to Aliwal North, listen, it's no man's land. It's you and the mountains and the open fields, and you're like, ay. If you didn't know any better, you would think that you were really, really, really lost, you know. So, but it's the same as in our lives. You may not know what the heck is going on with your life. You are going through all of these changes. You are changing. Life is changing, you know. But if you're in a relationship and you are traveling and you don't necessarily have everything figured out, you should be able to know, your internal GPS should be alive enough for you to know if you're still on the right track or not. You know, and that comes from being faithful to yourself first and foremost. Before we can learn to be faithful to other people in relationships, people are not faithful because people are not faithful in relationships because they're not faithful to themselves. That's why it's easy to cheat on someone else. You
That's
cheat
why I
on yourself
always say,
first.
that's why I always say a lot of people don't have relationship problems. A lot of people just have authenticity problems. They have a problem with authenticity, and that is one problem that is just manifesting in a million and different one ways.
Yeah. You know, so you made an example earlier on about whether you should even be driving on the N4 or if you should be flying above the N4. Some people have always known, Coach Londi, that I'm a flying type of girl. But because I meet this brother who sells the idea that, but have you tried driving? And deep in your heart, you know that driving is not for you. But because you're thinking, yo, maybe this is my only chance of meeting a somebody, let me try the driving route. And you get onto the driving route and you're like 200 kilometers in, you're like, no, it's not working for me. It's not the one. But now you want to turn around and blame the brother. The brother was the driving type. You are the flying type. But based on your beliefs of lack and scarcity, you thought maybe Bapelile up in the air. So maybe let me try my luck here on the road. You know, and hence people will now turn around and say, men are trash, and Mjolo is a scam, it's a pandemic. No, because you were not faithful at that moment when you said yes to driving, when you know very well that you are the my king, the miles, the flying type. It's fine, but be open to the possibility of knocking yourself against the wall and having to start over. Because that's exactly what happens. That's exactly what happens to a lot of us, you know, where you do agree to things when you know very well that you shouldn't even be there. Because what I know for a fact, Coach, is that you may not have everything figured out in your life. That's fine. Life may be very confusing at the moment, but there are certain things, man, that by that age you know very well about yourself. But we keep betraying ourselves over and over in the hopes that maybe on the other side I'll get a pleasant surprise. Do it at your own risk. If you must do that, if you must take that chance, do it at the risk of knowing and accepting that, hey, I may fail and it may cost me dearly. Those are some of the things, you know, that you should be prepared for. When you are ready to bargain your authenticity for an experience that makes you socially acceptable, be ready to take the consequences. They're very costly, though. Very costly.
The side of the road thing is becoming it needs some deep breaths.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing on this second aspect that you're touching on the authenticity and the staying true to yourself, and this is something that is very common, you know. That's why I have a job, because a lot of people lose themselves in relationships, and this is basically because of what you're speaking about ultimately being when we outsource things in relationship that we should be giving to ourselves, and we want to outsource it to our partners,
other people,
our family,
yeah.
And this speaks to our needs of belonging, because we want to validate that we are part of the social structure, that we are part of the tribe and the community. So in that sense, in this conversation that Nunu is unpacking on how you may lose yourself and how you may end up betraying yourself when you know very well that, you know what, Mina, I prefer to fly. I just don't like the discomfort of driving, number one. I don't like the time it takes to drive, because if you are traveling in anyway between, let's say, Joburg to Durban, it's an hour max with a flight. But when I drive home from Joburg, it's 7-8 hours. So if you are the, I don't have 8 hours to spend on the road, I don't want to do that type of person, is then that honoring yourself. So it comes in at that place where be relationship ready is the second thing. Be relationship ready, and being relationship ready means understanding the basics and the fundamentals of relation or relating in relationships. Yes, you are going through personal transformation. Yes, you are, it's a very upside down life stage, you know, but at every point and at every transition and transformation, maintain a level of awareness, a level of self-awareness, a level of awareness of your own desires. So it's this level of awareness and presence that's going to allow you to make decisions that are aligned with honoring your authenticity. Because the stuff that you want in relationship is stuff, listen, if you didn't know this about relationship is the one place where what you give is what you get. That's just how it works. There's no that's just the number.
No
if you can just get that rule, I got relationship, what you give is what you get. So if you are not rooted in your own self-confidence, in your own self-validation, in your own self-esteem, in your own identity, if you are wishy-washy about that, and you're looking for your partner and your relationship status to validate or to even import confidence onto you, to import validation onto you, to import self-esteem onto you, that's not going to happen. So we can just help you get that. Layo doesn't work. Try it somewhere else. If you want relationship to pour anything onto you that you don't already have, not the place to find that. Go find it somewhere else. Got relationship, when you pour authenticity, it's about expansion. It's not about creation. We don't create authenticity. We expand what already is. So if self-doubt is what you're bringing in, you're going to get self-doubt 10 times more in bucket loads. If invalidation, inadequacy is what you're bringing, you're going to get that triple trillion load. So the first rule, the second thing then, in how to handle this, first was get comfortable and accept that it's okay to park on the side of the road so that you can reflect. Spend some time in reflection. The second thing now that we're saying is, in this thing, understand the rules of the game. Understand the rules of the game that you are playing. Relationship is an authenticity game.
Always.
Your partner will always be the right person for you, because this is how Dr. Wayne Dyer puts it, and it's so beautiful. He says, when you take a lemon and you squeeze it, nothing but lemon juice will come out of it.
Oh, of course.
So when relationship, this uniting thing, when it takes you and it squeezes you, and apple juice comes out, and you wanted champagne, it's because you're not champagne. You are apple juice.
Yeah.
So when the pressures of life squeeze us, and the pressures of life include, like I was making an example with myself, the pressures of life include being judged by your family.
Yeah.
Oh, abashadi ngani? Oh, bakipitile. Oh, this. The pressures of life were squeezing us.
Yeah.
And what we were carrying inside individually, what we had built together is what was coming out. We are the most celebrated couple in both our families right now.
Yeah.
We did not get married until 13 years after being together. For a while, it looked like we did not know what we are doing, and we don't know what we want. Right now, we are the people that everybody comes to for advice. We are the people that everybody says, I wish we had done it that way. Because we were grounded. And when life squeezed, when apple juice came out and we wanted champagne, we paused. I was expecting bubbles. There's no bubbles bubbling here.
Yeah.
How do we get to bubble? So it's that thing of taking personal responsibility and personal accountability. Those are things that are a necessity in relationship. Those are not luxuries. Personal responsibility, personal accountability will allow you to have your relationship be a safe haven, because a safe haven is a place where you preserve who you are. The relationship can only help you preserve who you are and expand who you are. It's a place of sanctuary. So if vele wena ungena la, if fridge will not change, whether into has expired and make it unexpired. If it has expired and you put it in the fridge and you freeze it, it's not going to change. By the time you take it out and you unfreeze it, it expired. There's nothing that's going to happen.
Yeah.
The same with a relationship. It'll only preserve and expand what is already there. So if you are looking for bells and whistles and you bring the bells and whistles to this thing. All it will ever do is allow you to couple volume. So that's the second thing.
Yeah.
And then the third thing that I want you to just unpack for me, because I've seen it a lot as well, before I just go into it. You touched on it, where out of fear, so this illusion of time, having things at a certain age, having done this, the fear of missing out, the fear of this is as good as it gets. Now, I have seen my fair share of people falling in and out of love, meeting somebody today and declaring this is my soulmate. How am I?
Yeah, of course. Woo, when you know, you know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
When you know, you know.
Coach, me now, I'm very clear. People must learn to love us urgently. We don't have time. I know exactly what I want. I don't need time to figure anything out. You must just be. Okay. Why are you exposing my weaknesses now? Why? You know those when you know. People must learn to love us urgent. This thing you have against time, please make it make sense for me. Make it make sense.
So I will bring it back to, I call it living the template life, right? So the template life is where we grow up. We have people that we choose, unknown to them, by the way, that they are our role models, and we model our lives around what we see, right? And look, it's not a bad thing. When you grow up, obviously, you don't know much about life. You look to the people who seem to have done well, right? And you follow that route. But now, the danger with that is you don't know the full story. You just see what you see, né? You don't know what those people had to do to have that type of life, right? You don't know the things they've had to give up. You don't know the changes they've had to make to become the people who can live that type of life. So we then create a template for ourselves where we say, by age 25, I must have done this. By age 30, I want to be featured on the Male Guardian 200 under 30, what. And while those are great aspirations, the process of getting there should be entirely yours, right? So now what happens is that when we live the template life, by age 30, by age 25, I should be married. By age 30, I should have been done having children. Ne? And for everything, there is a process. You don't just get to a destination. Even with the analogy that we were using, if you are driving to Mpumalanga, for you to get there, you need to drive, or you need to fly, but there's something that needs to happen in order for you to
Before
get to
you
the
even
final.
drive the fuel in the car.
Exactly.
The tires.
There's a lot of preparation that goes on before you take a trip, number one, right? So that is the danger with living a template life, in that for you to decide that tomorrow I am traveling to wherever, there's some preparation that goes into that. And then there is a process, then a mode that gets you to where you need to go, right? And if this is where it starts getting a bit complicated. If your journey requires that you travel with somebody, you need to be of the same accord and of the same mind. But you can't know that on the way there. You need to know beforehand if this travel buddy of yours, because you can't say we're driving to KZN from Johannesburg today with Coach Londi. And in my mind, I have assumed that Coach Londi will help me with petrol. And then while driving, Coach Londi says, I thought you were giving me a lift for free. It's a problem. Yeah, but so this is what happens a lot. So, as people, we just have this thing because we decided long ago at 8 years old that by age 35, I should be celebrating my 10th year anniversary with 3 children and a husband, living in an estate, an upmarket estate. And when age 30 hits and you don't even have a boyfriend to speak of, let alone a husband, and already you are 5 years late to your 10th year anniversary, that creates anxiety for a lot of people. And this is now where you find them just taking whatever they come across and wanting to convert it to fit the picture that they had in mind. And a lot of people then get very mad when they find that love is not enough to change someone into what I want. I think that's where people will have lines like, love is a scam, because we've been deceived into thinking that because I say I love you, that should be enough to magically transform you into the ideal partner that I had in mind when I met you. And that's the disappointment that comes from a lot of relationships, when people realize that you're still not changing after all the I love yous and after all. And then that's where the disappointment comes from. And now also there's that pressure of time that you're looking like a failure, because remember, people still hold on to beliefs such as, if you're a woman, you can be as successful as you want, but if you don't have a man, you're as good as a failure. You may as well just go and burn your degrees and all of your accomplishments. Indoda ngokuba nenkosikazi, you may be the most accomplished man, in your age group under the age of 35, be a multimillionaire. However, if you do not have a wife by your side, then you do not qualify to be called indoda ngokuphelele. So as progressive as we are, as sophisticated and modern as we'd like to think we are, some of those beliefs still torture us. Still torture us, because this Mjolo is a pandemic thing. It doesn't discriminate against class or income groups. Everybody's feeling it. Even the super wealthy are feeling it, because when they go home to their families of origin, they will get asked, you know, whether that question is being asked in an estate, in a mansion, or in a village somewhere. It hurts for the person who aspired to have had that type of life by a certain age. So this is why we see the things that we see, where people apply undue pressure to themselves, and some will even go on a limb and say, and I've heard, the first few times I heard this, I couldn't believe it, but I've actually witnessed it, where somebody said, you know what, even if I end up with a divorce, as long as I would have lived that experience of being married and having a family, it's okay. I'll deal with the after effects of a failed marriage afterwards, but I refuse to give up on having this life, and I'll do whatever it takes to get it. You see, so that's just how powerful that pressure is to people who actually take it to heart. And you know what, it doesn't need to be like that, honestly, because yes, everybody will be happy that you are finally married, so they are happy, but are you happy inside of this union of yours? You know very well that I shouldn't even be with this person, and it's gonna be the two of you when everybody else is gone. So is it even worth it? So those are some of the things that we have to unlearn, especially because that's the age, that there's an advantage to going through that second adolescent of being 35 years and older, in that it gives you the opportunity to rewrite your own life rules. You get to establish and say, this I keep, this I discard, this I like, this doesn't even feature in my world. I don't even want to hear a thing about it. Like, for example, I grew up knowing very well that I don't want to have children, and I stuck to that, and I'm still there. And, there were times when I remember when I was approaching my 30s and I was like, okay, now I want to have a serious relationship, but guys want girls who want children. And I was a bit ashamed of admitting that I don't want to have children, and at first I would lie about it and be like, no, I can't have children, until I got tired of it, and I was just frank and open, and I said, Utipega, me, if you want to be with me, understand that you're not going to get children from me, because I just don't want to have children, And the minute I got frank about that to myself first, it made the selection process so much easier, because now if somebody was coming to me and they had a desire of having a family, then they knew that I wasn't the right person. And I also knew. And it made life easier. And now I was dealing with people who would say, it's okay, I'm not looking to have children anyway. I already have, or I don't desire to. And I started attracting accordingly, So it's those things that allow this process to sift out the things that just are not relevant to you, that you don't like, so that you start to attract what you really, really want. And that comes from being truthful to yourself first, and then everything else, I believe, will fall into place after that.
Hi. Now it's getting juice. Now it's getting to the stuff that I love. Thank you. It finally makes sense. Like, this time thing, and it sounds like such a burden when I have to have a conversation with a person and I'm like, you gotta give it time. Just give it time. And a person is on time. Hey, coach, I don't have time. That's why I'm here. I am in coaching because I don't have time. I want to be with my soulmate. I want to be living happily ever after, as in yesterday. And then what happens? A person gets into coaching and they think that the first person that they're going to meet after having a few coaching sessions is the one they must marry and go live happily ever after. And if that doesn't work, listen here, coaching doesn't work. Because when I went to a coach, I met a person and then it was not my soulmate. The pressures of time. So
also, coach, if I may add there, and it's gonna sound a bit on the rude side. So there's this notion that because Nunu attends coaching and I'm a client of Coach Londi, that automatically my partner will also be coached somehow, that the things that I get taught in coaching is not sexually transmitted, guys. It's not.
Oh.
It's not.
Is there such a notion?
Well, you see, these are some of the things. These are some of the beliefs that have people say things, Mjolo, things like Mjolo is a pandemic, because people automatically think that I work on myself. I see a relationship coach, or I go to Coach Nunu and she's helping me with my issues. That then means the partner that I meet, number one, would have been on a healing journey themselves. Number two, if they are not, whatever I learn, I get to teach at home and we transform.
Oh, they are my
we both transform.
projects. Okay. No, I get
the same as when we grew up with grandmothers and mothers who would go to church. And our fathers were left behind, and they would always say when they left, I'll pray for him. And so we're still adopting that approach.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where it comes from, where we think that our men, our partners, or if it's the man that's doing coaching, automatically my partner or the person that I'm yet to meet, because I'm doing this coaching thing where I'm working on myself to become better. Nah, boyaba.
I must be exempt on some level from attracting a certain type because I'm in coaching. Okay, no, I get you, and we'll get to that.
But yeah, please, let's just clarify that when you go to coaching, even if people, because there's also this trend of we meet today, 2 weeks later, because we've decided that we are serious about each other, we want to build a very serious relationship.
2 weeks, yeah.
We now go to Coach Londi to help us, or we attend couples therapy. We can both be there sitting on that therapist couch, but the level of involvement is dependent on each individual that's there. People can be there in body, but they can also be elsewhere in their minds and spirits. Yeah, so hence coaching and therapy and counseling, all of those nice things are not sexually transmitted, guys. You go to coaching for yourself to heal yourself. And if your partner decides that they also want to do it, first and foremost, they do it themselves. And guess what? The thing that will get to benefit is the relationship as a result of them having decided to work on themselves.
Okay. No, I get you. And so this is how I normally put it. Think of coaching as, so everybody's seen the harvest of my vegetable garden at the back.
Yes.
Yeah. So I was telling somebody the other day that think of your relationship experience as this. My husband tends to that garden. I'm not allowed to touch much because I just don't have a green thumb. I'm good for the camera and the photos and the la vie, you are the best. Listen here.
Yes.
That's my role. Yes. Because there I try plant something. Oh my God. Embarrassment is what I've been through. So I have accepted that I can't plant for nothing. Anyway, so the garden patch in the back, my husband works at that thing with our smallest one. They work there. Whatever is produced in that garden, will always need to come back into the house, be cleansed, be prepared, washed, chopped, blended, whatever, before it is enjoyed. So he works in the garden and we enjoy the fruit and the benefits inside the house. So that's the purpose of how you approach this coaching thing. I'm going to work in my coaching, and the union is going to be the place where I get to savor and enjoy the benefits of my coaching. So I always say, just look at it that way. Where you plant is not going to be where you're going to be able to enjoy isivuno sakho. Isivuno sakho uzosidla endlini emabhodweni akho. Kodwa uzosebenza lapha phandle engadini.
Exactly.
Which is why when I take on people for coaching, for example, I insist on individual coaching. I am not going to coach the two of you together all the time. You will have sessions where there's two of you together, but there will always be more sessions where it's you and you dealing with you by yourself. So that should take care of any misconceptions around the outcomes of you doing your inner work and how that is supposed to impact your relationship. So that takes care of that. And then this thing with the time where I was asking, please make it make sense. Because so here's what this obsession with time and all of these beliefs that make people feel like they are pressed for time. Here's how it's affecting your relationships. Relationship success is highly, highly dependent on courtship. The phase of courtship in relationship is more important than Mjolo itself. And a lot of high achieving people, oh, I know what I want to, and I know all the stuff that you, the beautiful stuff that you say about wanting to meet somebody today, be in love today, commit forever after in a month. Like if a person approaches me for coaching a month into a relationship, may I send you back? You can't. How dare you want to relationship coaching? You can come for coaching for yourself, but I'm not going to coach a couple mina that is a month together. What is that? Because, and I always thought it's a disadvantage of, I got into a relationship very long time ago by Giti with one person, so I'm inexperienced in what's going on out there these days, where you are expected and you are wanting commitment a month into a relationship, where you are wanting commitment 2 months after meeting a person. What is that? In my times, and I'm saying in my times because I got into a relationship donkeys years ago. And back then, since this time illusion comes a lot from conditioning, and it comes a lot from what we were taught. It's a response. So this pressed for time thing is a response to all these beliefs and all that stuff that we were taught by our closest people in our lives and what we got to observe and the role models. It's all these conclusions. So it's a lot of learned stuff, you know? So what I learned growing up was take your time. Like, Tina, even no matter how much you liked a boy, Lalela, your heart could be doing somersaults and your body would follow your heart. It was unacceptable for us, ukuthi a guy uzokushela namhlanje and 2-3 months later you are together. You would have been considered a loose girl when I was growing up. That's what I was taught. Like, you made a guy work just for you to say, yes, we can be in a relationship. He had to at least actually for 6 months, a year, whatever. But we were not allowed. We were not allowed. You're going to meet somebody today and a month from now you are in a relationship. Never. Never. That was not a thing for us. And so this courtship thing, we would be in courtship as if we are already in relationship, because that's where you get to learn. We were advised, and it was put as a necessity. The first thing you're gonna answer is, how long have you known this boy? How long have you known this girl? How many times have you spoken to? How many times have they come to see you? So courtship is a thing that has lost its place in how we approach relationship building. Because of, I don't know, maybe people are too woke these days.
No. It's unknown.
Oh, it's unknown. Okay.
It's unknown.
So let me teach you. You don't know this. There's a phase and a stage in relationship before decision. Before decision is courtship. NgesiZulu sithi uyashelwa. Uyashelwa ngalesi sikhathi. And you are
there
allowed,
in all languages. All languages have it.
To be courted by many people. And you are allowed to make yourself available to being courted by many people. Ungahamba no John namhlanje azokuchecka uphume uhambe yolalela uJohn. Ngo-6 ntambama kufika ubafana, uhambe yolalela ubafana. Ngo-4 ekuseni uvuswe uPeter, uhambe yolalela uPeter. Why? Because you need to give yourself that consciousness, that awareness that you were talking about. We look at these relationships and we don't know the behind the scenes. So you need to give yourself time to experience the behind the scenes of relationship. There's a behind the scenes that I was telling my daughter about. I don't know what they were talking about with her brother there. I always say I'm too young for all the problems that they're giving me. I am too young. So they're busy talking girlfriend, boyfriend stuff. And I was asking, how do you know he loves you? And then the other one is like, no, if it doesn't look like mommy and daddy, then that person doesn't love me. I'm like, woo, break it. You don't know what it takes to look like mommy and daddy. So please do not go and put pressure on some boy to act like daddy because you don't know. When mommy and daddy close the door and you are watching TV in the other room, you don't know why we can't sit and watch TV with you on a Saturday afternoon. What are we doing? What are we talking about? When I'm not talking and I'm angry and I'm shouting at everybody in the house, and daddy pulls me into the room and closes the door and I come back and I'm calm, you don't know what happened.
Exactly.
So courtship is a very important season in relationship before making the decision that yes. Because what people do is, instead of making the decision of yes, let's get in relationship, they want to get in relationship. I remember there was a client that I asked, people don't even know that there's a difference between uqoma nokushela.
No.
People don't know. There is a difference between umuntu engishela and there's a difference between ukuthi sengiqomile. I even made a joke and I'm like, when you need lessons from my 14-year-old. She knows exactly ukuthi uyangishela lo angimqomile. So that courtship phase is what's gonna save you from this obsession with time and this fear that being obsessed with time it's like hanging over. It's become one of the biggest threats to relationship success, this time issue, this pressed for time thing. Because if you don't allow, no time is wasted in courtship, because all you are doing is you are gaining clarity. It's a clarity gaining process. It's a data collection process. Because whatever you go through, in courtship with whoever, you're not going to go through with
Yes.
the next person. So
No.
it's never time wasted. It's clear. You see that clarity we were talking about. That stuff you're gonna pour in. That's the how you know if you are a flying girl or you are a road trip type of girl. All of that
Yes.
clarity is the clarity that you get during courtship.
Very
My
true.
husband met me in 2006, guys.
Mm.
We got together in 2008.
Mm.
We had
You
a
see.
long distance for a whole year. I dumped him in the midst of
Mm.
that whole year as well. Then we started fresh. So it requires time. The
It does.
only way a relationship work, the one thing that's going to support your relationship more than the coaching, the only thing that's going to support your relationship more than anything else is the time.
Yeah.
Intimacy is developed through time.
Over time. Yeah.
Authenticity is expressed in time. So time is an
Exactly.
ally. Time is your ally in relationship. So if you need to be loved urgently because you don't have time, then really do consider that maybe relationship just isn't one of the things that you should really be saying is a priority for you, that you should really be saying you want it to happen in this way. So, because also another thing, I remember when I first started working as a relationship coach, one of my friends called me and he said, "Woo, good luck. Pela, when you are going to sell Uzifo Zonke, everybody wants relationship." I was like, no. People may think they want relationship. People may say they want relationship, but very few people actually mean it. So
yeah,
going back to that, park on the side of the road and reflect. Is this
true,
even really what I want? Because
true.
if you don't have the time to give in relationship, then it's not going to work for you anyway. If you
Exactly.
want relationship to import, or if you want to outsource validation, self-confidence, self-esteem, and you want to outsource that to somebody else for them to pour the stuff into you, then relationship is not going to work for you.
No.
If you
Also, sorry, coach, going back to what you had mentioned earlier, that whole time element, because you see, so I think people need to understand time from two sides, right? Two dimensions, is that when you work with time based on, external factors. So external factors being the people in our lives, what are our parents saying? They keep asking, I can't take it. Every time I go home, my parents ask me, when am I bringing a guy? When am I bringing a girl? No, that is not the way. Just like everything else we're discovering, right? Life is best lived from the inside out and not vice versa. So the element of time, as you say, can only be an ally if you are living your life authentically. And what is authentic living? It's living from the inside out. What happens on the outside of your life, what we see, Tina, as we look at you and look at the results of your life, is an expression of what is already happening inside of you. That is the only time that time becomes an ally. Because when you use time that way, you give yourself time first. You don't put yourself under pressure. You become who you were meant to be and who you want to be without adding the pressure of time and rushing against I should be by now, I should be first, right? And this is when now time will give you the best information ever, one, about yourself. You mentioned earlier, we're living in very interesting times where authenticity will inform you that, maybe I'm not a full-time relationship type of person. I can't, and what I mean by that is some people are now being bold enough and confident, and more than anything, being truthful enough to say, maybe polygamy works better for me. You cannot come to those kinds of decisions and conclusions about yourself without having used time to be your ally. You need time to know, what are you basing this on. Please don't base it on Utandonistembu. Don't base it on, coming back to the things that we look at people and we think this is how things are. you don't know the behind the scenes of what it entails to be in a polygamous relationship. You really must know what you are talking about, and you really must know yourself very, very well to say, okay, I think I'll be able to. You know, like you were saying also when I contributing, people think they want relationships. I mean, I'm also a victim of that. You know, I won't sit here and act all holier than thou. You know, for the longest time, I thought that, especially when I hit 30, I started feeling that pressure, like the one that you're talking about, because every month or every second month you're attending a friend's wedding and you're feeling like you're being left behind. When you're forever single, will you ever even get married? You know, and you start putting that pressure and you start looking at yourself like, hey, maybe there's something wrong with me, when you knew all along why it is that you're not single. Number one, you see, now you're betraying yourself. You're now falling into the trap of comparison. And then I found a relationship, and it was a good relationship. But in that relationship, I learned a lot of things about myself that, you know, this thing, it's not really what what the things that I thought it is. When you are inside, it's not. Yeah, and that's why I learned with, okay, so yeah, you need to know what you want before. You can't base it on what other people say. You know, and I had to learn and start off from scratch now and do this thing right, truthfully, to myself and to my partner at the time. So, you know, people need to release themselves from the grips and the prison of time. You would rather get something late, having done it right and honestly and truthfully, than to rush into something that will cost you. Because trust you me when I say these things are very costly. These things that we do because we are worried about, we're looking like failures, we're looking like something is wrong with us, you know, hey, let me just grab the nearest person who's willing to walk this journey with me. Those things are very, very costly, guys. And if you think time is your biggest issue, wait until you crash so that you understand the magnitude of the cost of making rash decisions, you know, simply because you want to become socially acceptable to people, you know. So use the time. And the thing of courtship, when I coach, a lot of people, they don't even know about that. They don't. And I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people who grew up in townships, who were raised the Western way, who were raised by TV, that concept is unknown to a lot of people. So hence people feel like, it's best to get involved with someone because to them, that process of courtship looks like you are being loose, you know, because you're talking to all of these people. Hence you hear terms like body count. You've got 35-year-olds and older who will stay in relationships that died a long time ago because they're scared of body count, you know. So I think it is also on us to learn new ways of being, because the things that we've been doing, the ways that we've been doing life and relationships especially, are not working, you know. And when something doesn't work, at some point you have to stop and say, okay, how else can I do this? Because up to so far, it's not giving me the results that I want. And it goes for both men and women, because I don't want us to look at this as a women only problem. Even men, courtship, you know, that's why. And I think it's one of those things that have come to be misinterpreted and misunderstood in today's society, where, you know, a man would stand up during their wedding, or a woman would stand up and say, thank you for choosing me out of all the girls. And the feminists would say, what do you mean? Choosing me from all the girls? It would be because this man now took his time courting different girls. And when he finally made his decision to say, this is the one, right? It's because he had gone through a very thorough selection process. And he is sure, this is the woman I want to become my wife. And not in the sense of, no, you were in a competition. No, not like that. But in the sense that he is absolutely sure, because he also took the time to check out different girls. And ultimately, when it came to the crunch, he was like, this is the one. And the same goes for the woman as well, to say, when you finally make your choice to say, this is the man I want to be with, you were not pressed, you were not chasing your biological clock and all of those things, So let's allow time, because people find love, man, late in life, when people have written them off. People find love late in life. I mean, my mother is widowed. She's in her late 50s. She's been widowed for almost 10 years. She's in a very loving relationship. She's my role model. And it's genuinely happy. You can see that they are both happy in this relationship. So we should just let go of that fear of, I'm getting old. No, getting old for what? You don't want to be that old person or share my relationship the same as your teenage children. What are you gonna tell them?
Oh my God. Oh my word.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, I really get it. And it's one of those where really it speaks to presence, because if you are really present in your life,
Definitely.
very few things feel like a waste, because we get to appreciate the lesson in our failing and failing forward, and we get to enjoy the results when we had anticipated things and then they work out the same way. So life is always a win-win when we are present.
Always.
So this issue of time, and I know for a fact, I work with a lot of people who have this issue of time, and that is exactly why we are having this conversation today, because it's to address this thing of, I'm tired of falling in love quickly, easily, and frequently, So to really truly give your relationship a chance, because the relationships that work are not the relationships where we are subscribing or we are likely to fit into the category of fairy tale, soulmate, and all of these things. We're not those people. We are just the people that are most adaptable to changes, because we are allowed time for change.
Yeah.
We allow change takes time. No matter how fast it seems, it takes time. It requires time. So we allow ourselves, and we allow our relationships the time necessary for us to be the couples that stand the test of time. So time is going to be one of the most important, and it's the most deliberate thing, the most valuable. There are two things that are valuable in relationship. It's authenticity and it's time. If you can just lock those two things down, you will definitely be able to flourish in love and feel successful in relationship. So I want us to wrap it up with talking about this ideal partner situation that you guys got going there. What's that about? Make me understand that now.
Ideal partner.
Yes, wait, another ideal partner, girl.
So the ideal partner.
And this is from one of the comments that I read on the stuff that you sent me, the responses to your thing, saying, no, we are working, we are established, we are successful, we are independent, and men just don't want that in women. So we end up not having men because we can't find our ideal partner. So let's talk about this ideal partner notion.
That should be from the Independent Women's Syndrome, the club that I have since resigned from.
Oh, okay. Miss President of the club, break it down.
So, the ideal partner.
Because men have it too. I'm gonna tell you
Of
that men
course.
have it too.
Oh,
You know, a
definitely.
lot of my of clients, because I coach a lot of divorced men,
Mm,
more
mm,
than divorced women,
mm-hmm,
and a lot of the divorced men that come through are people that are saying, I want to attract my ideal partner now. That one
mm,
wasn't my ideal. I want my
mm,
ideal one now. So
mm,
yeah,
mm, mm.
it's a thing both ways.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
definitely.
those men want abo Miss Independent. So now when Miss
Ah,
Independent say men don't want their independence, now me, I'm confused. So school me.
so, hmm. It's the same thing like we were talking about, Uguti. You look at relationships, what you see from looking from the outside, ne,
Mm,
without knowing the behind the scenes.
mm,
The same concept applies there, right?
mm-hmm.
Yes, the ideal partner on paper, ne,
Oh.
on paper. He
Mm.
must be a CEO. He must be tall. He must be dark. He must be handsome. He must not have more than two baby mamas. He must earn 2 million per annum. Those are things that make up the outside, right? But I think the reason why these ideal partners never get to meet, ne, is because they don't determine the inside spec. They've got the outside spec. She must be independent. She must be a professional. She must have an MBA. She must.
Mm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Please understand. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's absolutely okay to have a type, to have a preference. But I think more than anything, because relationships by their very nature are an inside job and are very intimate, intimacy, right?
Mm.
You also have to have a spec, an idea of how the inside of that person should be. Now, my type, my type, people will say, I have a type, my ideal partner. And you get those all of those things that you have listed, this checklist that you've get of an ideal partner. But now you live with them or you come together in a relationship and you find that, hey, they are not a nice person. Yeah, but these are the things, again, that will cause relationship stress to people that are looking because I don't understand. He's he's the right spec,
Mm.
but how is it that he is the way he is and it's impossible to be with him or her, so for the men, the lady will be beautiful, she'll be taking care of herself, she's not a plain Jane, she dresses the right way. But my goodness, my life with her is a horror movie.
Mm.
Why? Because the inside also counts, guys. So, all of those things that we are talking about have got to do with issues of wanting to live from the outside in. When we do life, basing it on the things that we see with the naked eye without caring much about what happens on the inside, it is where we will start having problems because it is very much possible to have a partner that meets all of your preferences in terms of intellect, in terms of the social circle, in terms of the kinds of family they come from. But if they are abusive, who can tell that somebody's abusive just from looking? No one. You can't. So you also, just as much as you have a speck of an ideal partner on the outside, you also need to be very much present and conscious when you decide, okay, this is also the type of partner I would like to have, basing it on qualities that you can't go to school for. You can't go to school for being kind. You can't go to school for being generous. A person is either generous or they are not. You
Mm.
can, so those are the things that will break a lot of relationships because if that wasn't an issue, then all of these couples that we admire and we look up to, they wouldn't be breaking up on it. But the proof is in the being and doing life now with someone, where you see that whew, the CEO title actually doesn't matter. This person is just a meaning, and I can't live with them. Yeah, well, and if they are mean to one person, they'll be mean to you too. Yeah, well, so those are some of the things. So it takes us back to that inner work thing, where as an individual, when you say that I want a partner who is like this, because the law states, universal law states that you attract who you are. So first, again, it takes us back to where we started. Park on the side of the road. Study yourself, number one. Who are you? Do you know yourself? Right? Because that's how you will then know that, okay, I also want a person who is like this. Their character, their inner world, how are they? You know, then it's going to be a little easier for you to determine. I also want somebody who is generous. I also want somebody who is understanding. I also want somebody who is compassionate. You know, those kinds of things. If you are looking to have a family in the future, they have got to love children. Why would you want to have children with somebody who doesn't like children? Because you'll be a single parent in a union, in a marriage. Do you see what I mean? So it's those things that you also need to take the time, especially in that critical age of 35 plus. And you're actually lucky if you find yourself in that age and you are still looking, because now you have an opportunity to choose better because you know better. And you are choosing based on an updated and latest version of yourself who would have learned all of those valuable things.
Okay.
You know? Hopefully.
Some of us just wake up and say, "Aye, this is not what you and I were promising each other 15 years ago. Aye,
you
this is
see,
not what I signed up for."
The inside is as important as the outside. Yeah, well, so an ideal partner is not a necessarily bad idea. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think when you talk your ideal partner, also understand that there's the outside and there's the inside. And you must also know, because you see that courtship thing, when you have determined with it, okay, my ideal partner should be kind, generous, compassionate, this, that, whatever. As you are courting, those are the things you look out for. The reason why people do court unknowingly so, ne? But the problem is they don't know what to look for, because they never took the time to think about what they want anyway. They're just going with the wind. So, but if you know what you are looking for, then hey, you know, those are the things you look out for that will make you decide which this one, I don't think so. So hey, yes, he buys me a lot of gifts, which is great, but hey, I don't like how he gets when he gets angry.
Okay, no, I get it. I get it. It's making sense. And so on this ideal partner thing, and it's something that comes up. I think the first person I asked this was so shocked. Like, what are you talking about? Because obviously I'm gonna ask if you're coming to me and you're saying, okay, no, it's not working. So okay, what's not working? How should this person be? It's this ideal partner thing. Beautiful concept. But like with everything that I say, if you're gonna engage in something, very important to know what it means. Know the rules so that you can play the game successfully. So the ideal partner thing is, I don't know what to call it, but I'm just gonna describe it. You know, when you're looking for that partner, and I ask, so what do you want? A question that people never consider is, and this is, I think, explains why it's gonna hit the core of the why is the dating scene so hard for the 35 plus. The 35 plus is going through all these transitions and transformations it's a season of dealing with problems. It's a season of solving problems. That's what we spend a lot of time doing in our 30s. We spend a lot of time recognizing and solving problems in our work, in our homes, everywhere. We are just bombarded with problems. And for some reason, when you are looking for a partner, we assume that that person is not going through problems. So a question to ask to help you formulate this ideal partner list that Nunu is talking about is that balanced one that considers both the inside and the outside. An important aspect of that is to think to yourself and ask yourself the question, what type of problems is this person facing? What are they dealing with? Because to want a person who's going to be, if you're saying I'm wanting a safe haven, if you're saying I'm wanting security, because the law says you attract who you are, you attract from where you are vibing, you are going to attract a person that's going through personal transformation, a lot of transitions. They are going through those things. So what type of problems do they have? What type of problems are they trying to solve? What are they navigating themselves through? And this is now not an age thing. An age is in a birth certificate type of age thing. This is now a life stage thing, that at what life stage is this person? Because we're dealing with all of these things in different life stages. And when we don't take the time to consider what this person is going through, what do they need sanctuary from? So if we want this relationship to be a place of sanctuary, what are they needing sanctuary from? This is what I'm needing sanctuary from. What are they needing sanctuary from? How do I want to participate in providing the sanctuary for them, in providing the safe haven from them? Because when we don't consider what the next person is going through, and what type of needs they want to have this relationship meet. So now the ideal partner thing should be very closely linked to what needs is this person looking to have met, bona for themselves. Because as I'm going through my personal transformations, so are they. If I'm looking for a sanctuary, so are they. If I'm looking for a safe haven, so are they. So when you neglect looking at and being conscious and aware of what type of problems, asking the question, what type of problems is this person dealing with? What type of transformation are they moving themselves through? So that's the question that's going to allow you to not feel like your ideal partner doesn't exist, because they exist. It's just that neglecting their needs and only wanting them to be a place where you get your needs met, but you never then flip the script and say, so how do I meet their needs? So when you're dealing, or when you are creating and crafting your ideal partner list, vision, or whatever it is that you're doing it in, do it in that, with that perspective. Do it in that manner where know that love and relationshiping is a two-way street. We may be moving in one direction, but there's an ebb and a flow. They are going through stuff that they are needing this thing to be a sanctuary for. They are going through stuff that they are needing this thing to be an anchor for. It's not just about what I get in relationship, but it's also about what I contribute to the person that I'm in relationship with. So that's the first thing when looking into the ideal partner thing. So don't be shocked. Look at what type of problems is this person going through? What are they navigating themselves through? And so that you go in with the awareness that if I'm dating a 28-year-old boy and I'm 26 years old and I already have a child with no degree, and this person is only doing their second year of articles in an accounting firm, they are going through a set of problems, navigating job security, navigating student loans, navigating trying to fit into this idealism of having made it in the family. That's what they're dealing with. I'm dealing with unemployment, single parenting, homelessness, and all the psychological events and psychological states that come with having that as my reality. So be very conscious and be very aware and observe the reality that the person is presenting to you. When I was taking my time choosing through everyone, there was a guy who could come and see me in his father's car. He lived a couple of houses down the road, but he liked showing up in his father's car. And he would ask me to pelezela him all the way to the shops, all these things. There was one who had access to his parents' car, lived in a rich neighborhood that I had never been to. I only knew the name. But he was lying about where he lives, and he was lying about his neighborhood because he didn't want me to love him for the stuff that he had. This one was trying to impress me with his parents' car. This one was trying to hide how rich his parents are. Hey, guys. So all of these people are dealing with stuff. I wasn't ready to be this girl that everybody sees riding the parents' car to the supermarkets and sitting in the parking lot. It made me uncomfortable. I didn't like the fact that this guy was hiding his identity because he thought I was after him for his money. So those were the things that made me make my informed decision. My then part of my courtship people was up in Pretoria, living with a friend, navigating articles. I was like, no way, at least this one is busy with something. I can also be busy with something. It made me feel comfortable to say, okay, we can both be busy. He's busy chasing his articles. I can be busy starting afresh after having had a child and dropping out of varsity. So that made me comfortable because I knew what he was coming with. I knew that if I said I needed money for something, I wouldn't have to feel otherwise about asking him. Ngoba lo who's hiding his true identity, he's making it clear he doesn't want me to ask him for things. Lo who's driving me around in his father's car is ready for the whole world to know. Go to him and I are an item, and I must go meet his. I wasn't ready to be meeting people's parents. So the circumstances that you find a person in, use those to be able to determine if this person fits into your ideal partner thing. So how do you construct the list? In life, we have values, and in life, we have preferences. And people don't know the difference. So this is what I always say. When people say, no, I want a relationship. You know me, I can pay you whatever money you want so that you can help me. No. First, we need to determine, is this a value for you or is this a preference? So when you are constructing your ideal partner, values, Dr. DiMartini teaches it very nicely. If you want a thorough lesson on values, go read up on Dr. DiMartini's teaching on values. He says, bottom line, a value is something that's born from a void. So what are your voids? What are the voids, the stuff that you want your relationship to import into your life? What are those voids? So my voids was part of why I wanted to not jump into getting married first chance I got, was because I had this void of being chosen, of being loved, of seeing love, of feeling loved without obligation. For me, love always came attached to obligation. They love me because I'm their child. They love me because we're family. I wanted to be loved just because somebody can make a decision to say, I love you, and I want to do it. So that was a void. I wanted my relationship to fill that void. That became a value for me. And then preferences are expansions. So remember when we were talking about authenticity, it's going to expand. What do you want to experience more of that already
Mm.
exists in you. Oh, I'm a very
Mm.
confident person. I'm a very expressive person. So I want
Mm.
my relationship to be this platform where I can express my confidence. I
Express
can
yourself, yeah.
express myself. So now this
Mm.
is a preference. These are my voids. These are my preferences. What are this person's voids? What are their preferences? Then all of this is going to tie up together and you're going to have a balanced ideal partner list that is
Yeah.
not going to put you under pressure, that is not going to have you jumping in head first only to take a pause on the side of the road. A pause on the side of the road doesn't need to come in a form of a breakdown. When we talk
Oh,
pause on
yes.
the side of the road, we're talking conscious decision, not a breakdown causing you to, not an emergency situation. It's a
No.
conscious decision.
Mm.
So this is, there's no formula. It's a framework of how you move yourself from this easy to fall in love, difficult to stay in love, difficult to maintain. Number one, give yourself permission to pause on the side of the street. Number two, be authentic. Don't outsource things that you need to be pouring into a relationship. Number three, time is your ally. And number four, have a balanced ideal partner list if you subscribe to that. Yeah. If you are like us, where this ideal partner situation was never a thing. See, now we didn't know what we were doing and we were okay with what we were doing. Like we were fine with not knowing what to do, what to expect. All we had to go on was we said we're going to be together forever. And it's okay to change our minds. We gave each other permission to like, lalela, when you feel like you want to change your mind, please let me know. Be sure you let me know in time so I can prepare myself to change, to allow you to change your mind, you know? Yeah. So that is what I would say is the framework. So how does that work for you?
So for me, I would say that, you know, for people that find themselves in this space that we are talking about, you are 35 and older, you are really just thinking, relationships and me, you know, it's a pandemic, blah, blah, blah. No, guys. Look at it from a positive aspect. So unlike the Coach Londis of this world, who the heavens made decisions on their behalf and life became easier, you know, look, with all of the stuff they have to navigate inside, we are the types that have to go out there, figure it out. But the beauty about that and the advantage is we get to live a life of our own choosing. And that is the beauty as well, you know, in that, yes, maybe life hasn't been so kind, but take those experiences and use them as stepping stones to take you to where you ultimately want to go, right? Don't look at everything as a disaster, as a failure. No. Take all of the experiences that you've heard up to so far. They are there for a reason. They are there to help you build whatever it is that you want of your life, right? But be very, number one, be present. Be present about, you know, as to where you are right now without any judgment. So if you are 35 years old, you are 38 years old, you have 2 children, you are divorced, or you've never been married, you have 2 baby daddies, whatever your story is, it's okay. Accept this is where I am right now, right? And look at what you can learn from where you are and where that can help to take you, right? Number one, just accept it without any kind of judgment. Make peace with it. Be okay with it. This is where you find yourself, right? Number two, then be very deliberate and intentional about where you want to go and who you want to be, because this is the part that people always miss. that we always know where we want to go, but we never take the time to learn who we need to become in order to get to where we want to go. There's a saying that every level demands a new version of you, and that is true. And so if you are tired of doing life the way you've been doing it up to so far, there are things about you that have to change. There's things about you that you have to upgrade in order to start attracting the types of experiences that you wish for, the types of relationship that you want to find yourself in. And you can only do that if you give yourself the gift of time to learn yourself, to do a thorough study on who you've been so that you can determine who you want to be going forward, right? And then start working the journey, start taking your journey, whether you're going to fly or whatever, it's okay, but give yourself time. Everything takes time. Just give yourself time and remove this focus and pressure of the destination. Savor the journey as well. Savor the journey as well, because we focus too much on we need to be here, we need to be here, we need to be
and
here.
those of us who are there can safely say there is no destination.
Exactly. You know, we need to be here. This is why people are just never fulfilled. You know, you finally get the ideal partner. He's tall, he's dark, he's strong and handsome. He can lift you. He can, but it excites you for 2 minutes and then you start thinking, yeah, but something else is missing because you never got to savor the journey to say, whoo, before I met this one, I used to deal with pot bellies and that's the journey, guys. Enjoy it so that you can enjoy your six-pack guy when you finally get him. So you can enjoy your Miss Universe when you finally you see there's a Dr. Musa Mtombeni. People complain all the time, but he's so gaga over his wife. Listen, that guy knows the value. That's why he gets to celebrate his wife every day because he knows where he's been. And now that he's got this former Miss SA as his wife, Lalela, he enjoys her in every way imaginable and is not shy to show it. So it's people who also value the journey, who get to fully enjoy their destination, who get to fully enjoy the people they end up with, even if it's off the script that you used to preach all the time. Because you see, there's also this thing about when I was 28 years old, I used to like guys who look like this. And now the guy that I'm with doesn't fit that script. And now I'm scared that my friends are going to laugh at me. But if I know what I found, the value that I found in my current partner, it won't matter that they're laughing.
That one is not even about that.
You
that
know?
one is about if you are authentic in who you are now, you're not even going to think about what
it won't even matter.
Who you were at 28 and who you are right now doesn't even matter.
Exactly.
You won't even remember what mattered to you at 28 if you are being authentic where you are right now. So that one, Jay, is a whole authenticity question. If that is your problem, then you don't even need relationship coaching.
A relationship,
self-love coaching.
So people are holding themselves prisoners to older versions of themselves. People are holding themselves prisoners to other people's expectations of how their lives should be and how they should look. Don't do that to yourself. The fact that you are now 35 years and older, those are very juvenile things to be worried about. What you should be worrying yourself about is doing this life as authentically and as truthfully and honestly as you can for yourself. More than anything, for yourself. If anything, life can be tough on you in a lot of ways, but if there's one thing you shouldn't add on is the expectations of other people. Abantu bazothini, I used to be phuma lapho umdala. Do life as you are right now from where you are. Be truthful, be authentic, be able to sleep at night with the choices that you make for your life. And everything else will fall into place. Everything else will fall into place.
Wow. It was thorough. it was very deliberate, and it was all very conscious as well. Our approach to this particular topic of how do I navigate myself from falling in love easily, falling in love fast, and falling in love frequently, even when I'm not trying to jump on and off of the relationship wagon. And this is to address specifically if you are feeling under the time crunch, like I am this age, I am here, I should be over there.
Yeah.
This specifically is addressed to help you if you are in this situation. And I hope you appreciate the time, the time that it has taken for us and the time that we've invested in making sure that we lay this out to you. Because if it's one thing that is putting pressure and creating problems, it is the aspect of time for you.
Yeah.
And something to remember over and above everything else is that struggle is not failure. Just because you're struggling in something doesn't mean you're failing in it. You are just struggling. So be very accurate as well in defining where you are, defining how you are, and defining what's happening.
Yeah.
You are not failing in relationship. You are not failing in life. We are all struggling. None of us is failing. We are just all struggling. So be accurate in your definition of your circumstances and be accurate in your definition of who you are. And that, my dear lovers, is how we wrap it up. Thank you so much to our guest. Thank you for your valued contribution. Listen, I'm sure people are going to keep coming back to this episode, replaying it. I know I'm going to go have a nice long listen. This is going to be some Sunday, when I take those baths on Sunday, I have my speaker in the bathroom, my bubble bath, and I have the tap running. When the water gets cold, I take it out, I put it in hot water. Listen, this is going to be that type of situation. I'm going to marinate myself in this conversation, and I suggest that you do the same. And if you want to get a hold of Nunu and have more conversations with her, she's going to let you know how you reach. I'm also going to put it in the description below. And you know where to find me on my socials. It's Coach_Londi on Instagram, Coach Londi on Facebook, Londi at coachlondi.co.za on email. But I'm going to leave all those details for you here. If you want to find yourself having a conversation with me, you are more than welcome to respond, reach out on any one of those platforms. If you want to connect deeper with Nunu and you want to travel some aspect of your journey with her, then please, Nunu, where do they find you?
Okay, so on Facebook, you find me under Soulworks, work spelled WORX, Soulworks SA. Same on Instagram. You also find me under my personal handle, which is Nunu Nkosi, both on Facebook and on Instagram. And you can also check out Family Matters with Coach Nunu. One word, Family Matters with Coach Nunu. That's where you find me. Or if you would rather send me an email, it is soulworks with that RX, soulworkssa@gmail.com. Sorry, soulworkssa@gmail.com. And let's get chatting.
Fabulous. So this was Nunu's request. So that we please serve the over 35s in this field of dating, in this field of Mjolo the Pandemic, and a whole lot of other issues. So thank you so much, Nunu, for your question. Thank you for allowing us to have this conversation with you. Until next time, please do stay flourishing in love.
Thank you, Coach.